It's your boy Rush. This is my banner right here promoting my side hustle. If you need any security services in the state of New Jersey, just give me a call at 973-558-4659. It's your boy Rush. Got a special guest named Jody in the building. You know what I mean? Just give us like 2 seconds. Yeah, I got Jody in the building. You know what I mean? His brand is Redpill University. And we about to get this interview started. You heard? Alright. Hey, how's it going, Jody, man? Give the people the MO about you. You know what I mean? Let them know who you are.
So I'm one of the founders of Redpill University over on YouTube, and one of the OGs going way back to, I don't know, 2007, 8, 9. Before the subreddit got started, I was one of the founding members, and kind of I want not exactly a source to Rollo, but we were there in the old days on SoSuave. So back when it was all kind of evolving out of the whole PUA thing, when I got divorced, it's like, well, how do you meet girls now? So you Google it, you find at the time it was all about the book of the game. So that's really what it was where it all started, and just kind of evolved from there. It was not what I was looking for, but that's kind of how that's how things shook out. And I found my way onto SoSuave at one point, and we were just kind of A/B testing, throwing whatever worked against the wall and see what stuck. And Rollo was talking, just another user on the forum. He was kind of applying the psychological principles to the stuff that we were actually putting out into the field and A/B testing. So that's kind of how that all got started. So in a roundabout way, yeah, kind of a source for Rollo, but not really. He's more like the professor. We were like the grad students kind of doing the groundwork. Then he was kind of writing it up, and that became the blog, which later became the book, The Rational Male. So I've been at this for a very long time. And we remember during COVID, we were starting to get pushed out of Reddit. So we made the YouTube channel. We created our own fraternity. It is an actual professional fraternity, nonprofit, to help guys better themselves, to kind of see the truth, shake off some of the rust if they're out of the game like I was for so long, and just become the best versions of themselves. But more importantly, to find their mission, their purpose, their focus, their one thing.
Man, that's dope, man. My second question for you is what are your thoughts on the passport bro movement? Like do you got any like thoughts on that?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I love it because here's why. People forget just how rich we are in the West, especially in the States. The median income, depending on where you're at, is somewhere around, we'll ballpark, $55,000. Now in the US, that's pretty good money. But if you go anywhere else in the rest of the world, you're a top 1%er. So imagine the leverage that gives you, the status, the attractiveness that makes you to traditional women who value a good provider. You can do a lot of work and you may never become a 1%er in the States. Or you can take I don't want to say you're taking the easy way out. You're just leveraging your resources to become a 1%er somewhere else. That makes a lot of sense to me. So from a path of least resistance and leveraging the tools available to you, that is just, I think it's good common sense, especially if you're not happy with the caliber of women that are in your surroundings, in the States especially, where also there's a lot of background noise. I don't know if you hear that. Rush, can you hear that?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's better. So yeah, the passport bros, I see it as a variant of MGTOW, guys going their own way, living lives by their own rules. That's really what it comes down to. Some guys, they just withdraw inwards. They never date women again. They avoid them at all costs unless they're absolutely required to professionally. Some guys, they date. They don't have like long-term relationships. They just go out and they just do the bar scene, pick up girls, run through girls, and that's it. Others, they try to use the red pill to get a blue pill result. Others, completely different stuff. But the key thing, as long as you understand the core principles of what we're talking about in the community, knowing what the reality is of the differences between men and women, which 30, 40 years ago was common sense. Why this is controversial now is a whole nother argument. But getting back to your point, as long as guys are taking the lessons that we talk about, they're going into this stuff eyes wide open, and they're not trying to, again, get use the red pill to get a blue pill result, I think they'll be okay. My advice for the guys that are going to go get their passport and go to other countries, maybe south of the border, Eastern Europe. Well, maybe not Eastern Europe right now, but maybe later when the war simmers down, or Asia. The big threat of that, and I've seen this with guys who picked up women when I was in the military and would bring them back to the States, is that women will acclimate to their surroundings. Everybody does this to some degree. And that's a big threat. So if you are going overseas because you don't like the caliber of Western women, for whatever reason that might be, bringing them here, not the best idea. So, and I do have one nitpick about the whole passport bro thing, is that it's being framed as something that black men in the States are doing, when it's really not. This is something it's across the board. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because a lot of Caucasians, they will go to the Philippines or South Asia to find a suitable mate for them. You know what I mean? This is not an uncommon thing. This has transitioned into a serious movement where a lot of men that have a lot of resources, they do find a way to I guess make money remotely and move out the states just to have a decent suitable female, by their side or whatever. Now, my next question for you is: do you think it's possible to turn a 304 into a housewife? Talk to
Oh
me.
no, that's
Let's expound
the
on
obvious answer to that's going to be no. You can minimize risks. You can do some stuff. I don't know if you saw the notes I put in the chat, but body count is such a huge factor that no one seems to either care to talk about or they want to avoid it like a hot potato. They just don't want to be associated with the conversation because they know that they're going to get backlash. I don't care. I'll talk about it. But a lot of women in the States, especially, or just in Western society in general, the States, Western Europe, man, it's bad. You cannot turn a 304 into a housewife. That's been not just my opinion. This has been my experience dating some certain girls. I thought we could get past that. Nope. Learned that the hard way. So, yeah, okay, it's an anecdote, but I've seen it elsewhere too. So a lot of relationships with non-traditional women have a very short life expectancy, all things being considered.
Yo, even from a biological perspective, they say the more a female has partners, is she loses the ability to pair bond with one individual, and I totally agree with that. You know what I mean? My
Well, you
next
know, we've got a
question.
lot of science on this, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you want to break it down and explain to the youth right now, you know what I mean, explain to them, man, let them know what's good.
all right, I'm going to drop some links in the private chat here over on the streaming service. And I'm going to summarize it. So we've got, this is 20 to 30 years of research that's been broken down. One of the guys over on the TRP subreddit did a great thread. He collected all this information, and I went through it. When you put it all into a pot and stir and boil it all down to its base elements, it's this. Right around 4 previous sexual partners, the risk of infidelity doubles. Somewhere right around 5 partners, the risk of infidelity, or not infidelity, but the risk of divorce after 10 years skyrockets to 70%. Who in their right mind would go skydiving with parachutes that don't open 70% of the time? That's not a sensible thing to do. So why would you get married knowing those kinds of risks? Rollo's actually delved into this a little bit deeper. I'm being directionally accurate. He's going to go into the nitty gritty Go find that video that he did, because he's going to kind of like dissect it and give you the nuances. I'm not going to do that here. I'm not interested in getting all of the fine points. I want to get the meat of the bell curve and attack the main points, the gist that you can pull out of this, the operational information, the actionable information, I should say. So when you look at this, the links that I just dropped down, in my opinion, to minimize risk, you should not try to wife up women that have more than 3 lifetime sexual partners. That's including you. So you should never be more than number 3. But wait, there's more. So also in the data, particularly the second one, it has the actual graphs. Do you know how many women or how many partners women have to just be a 50-50 coin flip risk of divorce after 10 years? I've kind of already given you a hint.
Go ahead and break it down, man. Let's not even waste no time. Go for the guts, though. Let's go.
1. If a woman's had 1 prior sexual partner, she jumps to a 50-50 risk of divorce.
That is insane. So hold on. Are you recommending for the youth right now to seek a female that has her hymen intact? Talk to me. Let's expound on this.
I joke about it. I mean, the saying is no hymen, no diamond. If you want to get married, to minimize risk, that's what you should be looking for, ideally. There's a reason that waiting for marriage to have sex became the traditional methodology. Traditionalism did not manifest in a vacuum. I think our elder generations kind of hammered this stuff out centuries ago over time, and it settled into what we had. For some reason, we threw the baby out with the bathwater with a sexual revolution, and now men and women aren't happy. Women realize they're getting ran through. A lot of them then get alpha widowed. They can't find a guy, and then it sets the bar so damn high, they're never satisfied. And that's not good for them, especially with college graduation rates being what they are. We can get into that more. But if you also haven't seen the video, go watch Richard Reeves' interview on Access Vegas with Rollo and Mike Sartain. Good stuff. He was also over on Chris Williamson's show. It used to be, well, he just changed the name, so it doesn't matter. But Chris Williamson, look him up on YouTube. The Richard Reeves interview. They've been talking about this stuff. Granted, he's not really breaking new ground. Dr. Warren Farrell's been talking about this for 15 years, maybe even longer. So the issues that are causing men to fail to launch, that's giving them lower economic opportunities, so they're not rising up the socioeconomic ladder, it's bad for women because they have fewer guys to marry up to. That's what's happening. And I just saw a report last week. The top 2.5% of men in America today are having as many, if not more, sexual partners than the bottom 50% combined. So, and if you go into SciHacks, he did a breakdown of the local GSS survey, it was the General Social Survey. And he's finding this is kind of all culminating in women leading us back to polygyny. He says polygamy, I argue polygyny, because 1 in 5 women under 30, 20%, are in a de facto harem, whether they realize it or not. So 20% of women currently are sharing one of those top 2.5% guys. The math is just a mess right now. It really needs to be dove down from an academic perspective, but you know they never will. They're never going to touch the 10-foot pole until women are the ones screaming to, like, where are all the good men at? We're starting to see it in social media on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram reels, but it's not at the level it needs to be for sociological change to happen. Right now, it's just older women complaining about it. When a lot of women are complaining about it, things will start to change. That's one of the things I've learned in this community over the last 15 years. When guys complain, shut up, rub some dirt on it, man up. When women complain, you get Title IX. Well, when you look at where college is at right now, the gender difference is even worse in the opposite direction than it was that created Title IX in the first place. So what we really need is to start looking at changing really a lot of stuff about society that, again, no one's going to want to talk about or touch until women are the ones in the driver's seat trying to seek those changes. That's just the way it's always been.
The way you broke that down was just so perfect and digestible for the youth to understand what you're saying right now. And basically, it's saying, man, like, yo, if she doesn't have a hymen, man, it's not, yo, you shouldn't even marry her. And one thing I want to say is that, yo, that white wedding dress represents purity, man. And a lot of times when women wear this white dress, they're not even pure. They done been ran through. You know what I mean? Like the, you know what I mean? Like the Harlem Tunnel. Yo, my next question for you is, what kind of led you in this direction of becoming a content creator, and do you consider yourself a part of the manosphere? Talk to me.
I think by default, just because we talk about these subjects, we are going to be lumped in with them if we wanted to be or not. Although in my case, I'm kind of one of the founders of this because we were putting this all together back, 2012 on Reddit. Even before that on the POA forums, when we didn't really know what we were doing, we were just kind of like throwing everything against the wall to see what stuck. A lot of the Redpill concepts kind of manifest from that. Rollo had a lot to do with that. Hartisti, formerly known as Royce, he was more of like a troll kind of, but also there's a lot of nuggets of truth in what he talked about. Different, we called them endorsed contributors and Vanguard contributors over on the Reddit. Guys who had life experience. Archwinger and Rhinestone are two that come to mind for the Redpill mirrored guys who are doing it. They're playing hard mode. It's trying to have relationships through a Red Pill lens, using the Red Pill lessons to stay on track, to do more of the traditional things, is what it really comes down to, from what I've seen. But also being mindful of a lot of the pitfalls that come with modern relationships in the modern society, in the modern world we live in. So there's a lot of pitfalls that you can avoid if you have rock solid frame. What is frame? A mental point of origin. Basically, mental fortitude. That's the way I see it. So if you can stand up to women, then you can stand up to the world. Or more likely, it's the opposite. But really, it's both that matter. You need to be able to not buckle to the women in your relationships. There's going to be compromises. But if you're letting a woman walk all over you, which many guys nowadays do, whether they know it or not, because they're afraid to establish boundaries and uphold them. I've been talking about this for a long time. You have got to have firm boundaries. You've got to articulate them well in advance of problems happening. And then if they do cross the line, there has to be consequences. So, and a lot of guys are not willing to do that because they've got such a scarcity mindset that they're going to let these women walk all over them. So this is one of the things I actually agree with John from Modern Life Dating. I really agree with him a lot, that men should have not a hoe phase, but you don't have to have sex with a lot of women, but you do need to date a lot of women to find out what you like and what you don't like. And this is one of the things I credit when I was in the military. I actually got a lot of experience with that, for good and for bad. But the core takeaway from this is you have to date a lot, not seriously, just date a lot. And then you're going to kind of disseminate, you're going to discern which women have the qualities you want and which ones don't. Then it's all about screening for those qualities. That's a whole nother situation.
Man, you're giving us the juice on this, man. This is definitely good information for the youth to take in and implement some of these styles of dating on how to handle with these 304s out here in these streets, man. Because you can't be wifing them up, man, if they've been ran through. You heard? My
No,
next
you're not
question.
wrong.
Yeah, my next question for you is Redpill University is an incredible brand on YouTube, and I just want to know, did you come up with that brand by yourself, or you got a whole team?
Well, we have a team behind us, but I think that was I actually don't know where that came up with. It just popped into my head one day, and I may have seen it somewhere. If I stole it from somebody, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It has a good alliteration. So it flows,
I like it, man, and I observed a lot of your content, man, and the way it's structured, you kind of like using it as a real university on how to deal with the whole thoughts on like the whole red pill ideology, and I like that. It's a lot of flavor too. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, no, it's just there's a lot of different content creators in this space. Some are way more entertaining than we ever sought out to be. We took more of an academic approach. And this was actually an evolution of the classes that I used to give when I used to live up in the DC area, which again was an evolution of it wasn't really PUA, it was more like a dating coach. So I had a lot of experience in the nightlife industry. I've had some really great mentors. Had a really great wing when I lived overseas, and I just kind of like took the Bruce Lee approach and uh, adopted what was useful, rejected what was useless, and then added what was uniquely my own. And that became the class that later evolved into Redpill University. So I've been at this since I think 2009.
Word. I mean, yo, this whole red pill manosphere thing, I think it's been a big help for dudes that have no idea how the game really works or have no idea about, female nature. You know what I mean? And because of the information that they receive as a youngin, and then going to college, like they're being indoctrinated with blue pill, you know what I mean, with blue pill ideology, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a dangerous thing, and it hurts dude, you know what I mean? From paternity fraud to divorce, the courts, paying child support. I mean, these are instruments that's used to weaponize against men, and I think men need to wake up and start to realize, like, yo, they got to stay sucker free, because staying sucker
Mm-hmm.
free is my campaign, man. You know what I mean? You can't be out here doing no sucker shit, you heard?
Well, you want to talk about dangers. So you think academia is bad. So it was getting bad right when I was leaving the military. And from what I understand, it's gotten a lot worse. The blue pill Disneyfication, it's not good for readiness, esprit de corps, readiness. I think the next time something serious kicks off, we're going to have some very, very severe consequences of that, where they are throwing. Thomas Sowell has a really good quote. I'm going to butcher it right now, but we spent the last 30 years replacing what worked with what sounded good. And that's not just in academia, and that's not just in the dating market. That's also what we're seeing play out in the military. So getting back to the 50%, again, in 2018, we saw the rate of guys under 30 that were still virgins or hadn't had sex in the last year. What was it? They tripled or doubled? It was around 28% in 2018. Now, Sartain did he did the God's work here, and he tracked the trajectory, and he thinks that it's somewhere around 33%. I think it's closer to 50% because COVID normalized so much of being online. It's turned Instagram into the best dating app on the planet. It's just, I think we're closer to 50% who haven't had sex in the last year than that 33% that we were on that trajectory towards. Again, because of the issues that the lockdowns had, just normalizing these kids being on Discord all day long for their friend groups, not being out in the world, socializing, meeting women the way we used to. This is going to have a consequence because when shit kicks off and we need guys to go risk their lives, lay down their lives to defend the country, a lot of this young generation, these 18 to 24-year-olds are going to be like, nah, I'm good. They've got no skin in the game. They've got no investment in the society. And why should they? When society has largely turned its back on men at best, and at worst, actively denigrates and seeks to destroy them. This whole toxic masculinity BS. Tate has his faults, but he was right on those elements, in my opinion. So I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to see a very quick return to traditionalism when shit gets real. There's no feminists on the Titanic, so they say. So we're going to see something like that shake out. I was just talking to some girls, they were 23, 24 just this past weekend at the pool party. And I made this point. Why should these guys risk life and limb to protect you if you won't even give them the time of day? Like, how can we expect guys to go out and risk life and limb, not only just in war, but to go dig in the mines to get the coal we need for our power plants, or to go work on an oil rig to get us the oil for our power plants, for the industry? We can barely keep the lights on in an ice storm. And we just saw how many people die in Texas during 2 years ago. We just saw these train tracks. They're falling apart. We can't keep the infrastructure running. 7 million male-dominated jobs are not being fulfilled right now because these guys don't have the drive to go. They don't need to work. Why go out there and be a good beta provider when that is not what women are screening for anymore. So sociologically, this is going to have long-term consequences, especially when we need these guys to go fight. And that day will be here sooner or later. Hopefully later, but we see what's going on over in with Ukraine. Who the hell knows? So it's going to be. I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. And this is kind of the whole weak men make hard times. That's kind of where we're at in the cycle. So hopefully we nothing pops off. But if it does, I think be prepared for a very swift return to traditionalism. We're already kind of starting to see it on YouTube with the rise of Allie, Redpill, I forgot her YouTube handle all of a sudden. But Pearl Davis, Just Pearly Things, a whole bunch more. Tori's out there. Torsha, hello. We got, who's the other one I just saw? They're popping up left and right. So we're starting to see a rising voice in women, again, seeking this traditionalism. They're going to be the vanguard of women that move society back to the right. And I think gets us out of this society's collective hoe phase.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that. Especially like the male feminists, you know, like their whole thought process is just skewed and perverted. I mean, and
You're talking
definitely,
about a very specific blue or purple haired one that keeps making the rounds?
right.
I don't know why he gets the time of day. Just because someone's famous doesn't make them right. Doesn't make what they have to say worthwhile listening to.
But see, that's our problem in today's society, man. Like if you have some type of notoriety or any type of fame, like anything you say is considered, you know what I mean? It's considered like the truth, you know? And
I hear you.
you know, hopefully people will wake up and start, you know what I mean, making better choices on certain things, right? That be but next question for you is, do you think the leftist feminist movement and thought culture have changed the data scene? And if so, give me a breakdown on why.
So this kind of tracks back to what we were talking about over the weekend with the younger girls. It's like, yes, absolutely. The game has changed. So a lot of women these days are kind of like being programmed to want something that's against their best interests. And then suddenly when they meet a traditionally masculine guy, it opens their eyes. You hear a lot of this like on TikTok, Instagram, these interviews where these girls like are low key, like, man, I want a masculine guy who's going to like, you know, boss me around in bed and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm not supposed to say this, but this is like how I really feel. So you can't override 40,000 years of evolution with social programming. It's just not going to happen. You can make a dent. You can also really brainwash people, but when it's time to get busy, all that changes. So at the macro level, there's still going to be exceptions to the rule. That's just the way the game is. But yeah, at the macro level is what I'm talking about. I think most people will naturally resort back to what works. Again, traditionalism did not happen in a vacuum.
I totally agree with you on that, man. It's just the same old things on how things have turned out to be. Like I know I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to see the change from from the '90s and all the way now, man. It's a totally different game, man. And
Yep.
dudes need to start taking advice from people like you and the whole face of the red pill movement. I mean, like people like Rolo, um, Myron. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, and
Well, I feel
definitely
bad for
you.
women. They got sold a lie. Just come right out and say it. They got sold a lie. They think they're being told that they can do everything, that they can be the boss babe and the mother and have the family. It's like, no, there's only so much time in the day. And the sad part is they don't realize this until they're later in life. They're in that epiphany phase. I did the rough estimate on the math on this. Somewhere around, I think, 9 million women in the US. Now, this is using old numbers. Our birth rates have gone down substantially since I looked the numbers up. But roughly 9 million women turn 18 to 23 every year. So for the 23-year-old that I'm talking today, in 5 years, she's going to have something like 40, 45 million more women as competition. That's a big part of what causes that, what Rollo calls the epiphany phase. So their attraction's starting to wane. They're starting to be a little bit older. They've got a lot more competition than they did before that men are more primarily attracted to from just a biological level. We'll get more into that later. So it's at that stage of the game where Chad stops sniffing around, Tyrone's not sniffing around anymore because they've got their eyes set on the younger girls. It's like, well, shit, where are all the good men? It's like, well, they're in your 20s, your early 20s, where you ignored them. So it's a bad deal for everybody. Again, women are getting lied to. They get ran through. They think they're going to get the commitment. These guys, they don't, because they've got, again, 2.5% is getting more than 50% of the other guys for sexual access. Why would they commit to you when they've got your friends, your nieces later in life that they can go to? It's just, they're not going to commit to you. And I see this all the time. And I got some really good friends, and I really hate to see it happen to them. And in one case in particular, a single mother, she's awesome, but she thought she was dating the guy. He didn't think that at all. And then one thing leads to another, and now she's upset because he's moved on. And it's like, I saw it coming a mile away to an extent, and it's like, stop choosing fuckboys and you won't get fucked over. So, but getting back to what we were just talking about a second ago too with, oh, wait, damn it, it's leaving. Lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. It was regard to women and the younger ones. Oh, maximizing gains. So like what I was talking about before were guys, ideally, you should be no more than number 3. That's just minimizing risk. Ideally, you're her first. You're probably not going to find either of those in the States. But for women, if you want to maximize your potential, you should be looking to get married no later than 22, 23 because of what I was just talking about. You're going to have so much more competition later in life. There was a really good blog. I forget the name of it. I'll have to find the link and send it to you later for the comments or for the description. But the gist of it was the smart thing for women to do, just because of how short their fertility window is. Just to be clear, this only applies to women that want to get married and have kids. If you don't want any of that, go team ho, have all your fun, get your bag, go for it. But if you want to be a wife and have kids, the best time to do that, you'll never have a better opportunity than in your early 20s. My recommendation, maybe not even go to college. But if you do, find your husband, get your missus degree, find a good man who's going to be able to provide for you and take care of you while you're out with the kids, have the kids. Then when you're around, I don't know, 24, 26, the kids are now in school. That's the time to start your career. You're going to have an uninterrupted career from that point forward. It's a little bit delayed. Life isn't fair. Not everybody gets to be an astronaut. Deal with it. Accept reality for what it is. You do not have the same fertility window that men do. And if you want to maximize your potential, you're going to have your kids younger. You're going to get married younger. You're going to strike when the iron's hot, when you've got all the world trying to get in your pants. If we're going to be honest, that's really what it is. So it's going to be your job, your dad's job, your mom's job, your grandparents' job, your aunt and uncle's job, your brother's job to help you screen for a good guy. This is the way it used to be. This was just the common sense approach to dating. You didn't just go out and just date and date and date and date. You dated with intention. So that's my recommendation for the generation coming up, for women specifically. Between 18 to 22, screen and find a good man to settle down with. Have your kids. You should be done having your kids by 30, maybe 34. So if you want to have like 5, 6 kids, just if you want a big family, go traditional, you're going to have a kid, take a few months off, have another one, wait a few months. That scales, but you're not going to do it right away. What I keep seeing is, and this is just kind of the normal way it kind of shakes out. Say you're 22 years old. You meet a guy getting out of college. This is why I say 30 is like the latest, because in reality, you might only have time for 1 or 2 kids. So you're 22, you meet, you date for a year or 2, ideally 2 years. Guys, you got to screen them. You can't just jump right into a relationship and then get married a year after you've met them. You've got to like be together for a long time. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. If you're familiar with Strong, Successful Male, he's talked about this. Others have talked about it. I'm a big adherent to dating for at least 2 years before you commit to him. Like, seriously. Now, you can be monogamous, but it takes a long time to shake off all the to get through the honeymoon phase and shake off all of the pretend stuff that you're going to see. My camera's getting a little wonky there. So 22 to 24, you're dating. Now you're married. 24. Great, you're married. you're not going to run right out and have kids. You want to enjoy each other for a while. You just got your house. You just moved out on your own. You're getting established. Okay, now you're 26. Not much time because 30 is right around the corner. So you might only have enough time for 2 to 3 kids at that point. So just by waiting till 22 and then to start the hunt, and a lot of them aren't even doing that. They aren't even starting until they're hitting a wall, like 22 or 30, 28 to 32, that epiphany phase. By then, it's way too late. Otherwise, you end up in a situation like I experienced where the girl wanted to date. She was in a race. She wanted to be married within 6 months, having kids within like that time, like shortly thereafter. I'm like, whoa, I barely knew her. So bullet dodged. She ended up getting knocked up again within 6 months. And it turned out it was some guy who had just gotten out of prison, big old neck tattoo, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, what the hell? So, and she was not the standard type that you would think that would go for that kind of a dude, right? So she gets knocked up, has the baby, and then is married. I don't know, it was like maybe 2 years later to some chump. It's not for me. So those types of women are out there. And once they get a little bit older in life, they tend to, again, not all of them, but enough, race. And that's a real dangerous situation to be in. You're going to find yourself getting love bombed, getting the best sex of your life. She'll be very, very giving and eager to please and all that. It's like being like, where was this 10 years ago when you were 22? So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, man. A lot of times these females in their youth, man, they waste their beauty on dudes that's not really productive in life. You know what I mean? Or they might be in a stage where they're kind of stagnant within their career or moves or whatever they're trying to make. And a lot of times, females they really seek out the dudes that's socially unavailable. Know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things, man, like that is that, I hate to say this, man, the quote unquote the bad boy type. Know what I mean? That's the one
Oh,
that
yeah.
get a piece. Know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. Know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's nature. Everybody's going to want someone that's attractive, and attractive men are going to have a lot more options than non-attractive men. That's just common sense. The same way a wallflower type of girl is not going to have as much attention as a girl that's just, dressing up to the nines, putting all of her TNA out there for all to see. That's going to draw a lot of eyeballs. So that's just the way life is. So I get that. But yeah, if you want to, like I said, just keep it real. Leverage your youth and fertility for women, guys. I don't want to say lead with your money, but leverage your assets in a sense where you're going to put your best foot forward. And this is where I break with John from Modern Life Dating. He's all about the looks, money, status. It's so much more than that. I'm going to put it in order of importance to the least importance. It's your status, your looks, your frame, your money, your game. Let me break it down. Status is like if you're famous, you don't need anything else. That's it. You're game over. You just all you got to do is show up. You're Tom Cruise. You show up. Women are going to flock to you. Done deal. Looks is like an amalgamation of your fitness, your height, your looks, your just went blank on the word. Your hygiene, all of that squashed together. That is your look, so to speak. How well you present yourself, how well you dress. Your frame, again, mental point of origin. It's having the ability to lead. Can you lead a relationship? Can you lead your friend group? Can you lead at work? Are you a leader? Are you internally driven? Do you have that mental fortitude to keep it all together when everything's going wrong around you, where you can be the woman's rock? That's why I see frame. It's that amalgamation of those different factors. So again, status, looks, frame, money, pretty straightforward. Once you get around 70K, your quality of life, well, shit, with all the inflation, who knows, maybe 80K. Once you get to 70 to 80K, they say your quality of life doesn't really dramatically improve until you get to something like 250K. So try and get past the median income. Be at a point where you don't have to worry about the bills getting paid. So if you can get to that stage of life, that's a great place to start when it comes to this shit. If you want to have your life together and be that guy where the girls can just lean on you and not worry, is the baby going to have formula? Is she going to have a meal? If you guys want to go and do a road trip that weekend, get out of the house, it's not going to be a problem. A lot of the girls today, from what I've seen, especially with the younger ones, is that they are trying to chase a lifestyle. And if you can, again, have the frame to kind of like knock that down a little bit and make them more, lead them to being reasonable, the money situation is going to kind of be mollified a little bit. And then the last thing is game. If you've got those other elements on point, the only game you have to have is not putting your foot in your mouth. Now, if you're what they call neurodivergent, if you're on the spectrum and you're starting a little bit further below average in your social acumen, well, then, okay, you may have to do some work on that. But for most guys, if you're normal, all you got to do is, like I said, just don't be weird. Don't put your foot in your mouth, and you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. However, again, with the normalization of like Discord for socializing and all this shit, a lot of these younger guys, especially, they're losing the natural life lessons that we got younger. Those of us that were like that came up in the 80s and 90s, maybe even the early 2000s. From 2007, 2008 onwards, that's the big demarcation. For my generation, the demarcation was the advent of the internet. For someone's grandparents or great grandparents, it might have been the advent of the airplane. Social media is the big demarcation point of this generation. So, again, those that were that kind of got raised before that, they're not going to have as many of these social problems that the newer generations are because they're just not getting out into the world. They're not reading social cues. I think that's a lot of what people misinterpret as being on the spectrum. Just like, no, you're just a social retard. Get out there and meet people. So I think if you are okay in that respect, again, just what we would call normal, an older generation to us, if you're socially normal, get your status, get your looks, get your frame and money straight, and that's all you really need to do. This whole PUA thing of trying to woo a girl into her pants, that is just, it's really a lot of that is just getting guys up to being socially average. That's it. Being able to read social cues. A lot of guys just don't have that skill set.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Now you mentioned that if somebody have the compensation of making 80 grand a year to 250,000, like you said it so casually, like yo, if you're making 80,000 a year, that's not even enough income to live a real comfortable, decent lifestyle. You know what I mean? And
Well, shit,
that's
dude. Look at right now. The median, well, about 6 months ago, to afford the median home price, you had to make 100K. That's approaching double the median income. So yeah, shit's broken right now. The whole system's like all out of whack. The whole system needs to correct and kind of find a new equilibrium because it's all out of whack right now. But getting to your point, yeah, 70K was, at least before all the inflation ran up, was that demarcation point where once you make over that, your quality of life doesn't dramatically improve. The next leg up, I think it was like 220, 250, somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you do a Google search on this, you'll find the study that I'm talking about, the research that shows that. So yeah, 70K, like again, with all the inflation right now, maybe 80. But when I was a kid, 100K, man, you were a baller. That was like a lawyer, high-level lawyer, a dentist, a doctor. They made the six figures. Well, when you keep in mind that with inflation, cost of living doubles every, 14 years. So
right, yeah. Right. And they're saying in the CPI reports, it's saying inflation is about 8%, but really it's 16%. Now, what are your thoughts on that? And what advice would you give to the youth to climb on the next level of a high level of socioeconomic status? Like, give them a breakdown on how to do that.
Oh man, this is my forte. I love this. I love investing. Learn not necessarily how to trade options, but learn how to manage risk. You got to get money in the market first off. So it all goes back to 1970, 1971 when we left the gold standard. So there's a good website on this that's got some really good charts on this. WT happened in 1971. Go look it up. I highly recommend everybody kind of get familiarized with how the game changed. My camera's going a little wonky. Okay. So in 1970, the median income was right around 10K. The median home price was right around 17 to 22K. So that was a 1.7 to 2.2 multiple. Not unreasonable. Now, you look at today, again, when the housing prices had peaked, you needed to make almost 100K just to afford that. How did that situation get broken? Because if we kept the same multiples of median income, the median home price adjusted for square footage going up over the last 45 years, the median home price should only be somewhere in the neighborhood of 145 to 160K. Right now, it's around 400. It's like 380 or 400. That delta is the damage that was done to our purchasing power by leaving the gold standard. This is not a direction I expected to go in this conversation, but I'm going to go there. So another way of looking at this, what was the purchasing power, not adjusted for inflation, but adjusted for purchasing power relative to today? How much would you need to make today to have the purchasing power of someone making that median income of just under $10,000 in 1970? Take a stab at it.
I mean, that's not even feasible, making that much to purchase a home. You wouldn't even be
That's my
able to
point.
stack up. Yeah, you wouldn't even
Now,
be
keep
able to
in mind,
stack up for the down payment. I mean,
well, so keep this in mind too. Someone in 1970, they're working on an assembly line in a manufacturing plant with a high school education. The purchasing power that their income had was roughly in the neighborhood of somewhere around $225,000 to $250,000 in today's US dollars, USD. This is why Grandpa, working on the factory line, was able to afford a house, multiple cars, to raise multiple kids, to save for vacations, multiple vacations a year, to save for retirement while the wife stayed home. They could do all of that on a single income with just a high school education and a factory job because it was backed by the gold standard. That money had way more purchasing power than it ever does today. So again, it gets back to like $100,000 to $250,000 today is like what Grandpa was making working on the factory floor 40, 50 years ago. It blows my mind that that's just how far we've fallen as a country as far as our monetary policy goes. So modern monetary theory will go down in history as the biggest robber of wealth in the world of all time, at least up to this point. And they're talking about raising the debt ceiling again so they can just keep it going. So it used to be productivity and wages were intertwined. They kind of went up together in lockstep. And then in 1971, that whole thing broke. And we've been getting robbed of our wealth ever since by printing away the purchasing power of our US dollar.
now would you consider like the industrial way is finished? And by me saying that, people investing into 401ks and all that, like when did they wake up and one day that money's not even there no more? Like, do you think there's a possibility
Well,
that for
the
that to
only way to
happen?
hold on to wealth right now is to have assets, whether they're physical or they're not necessarily virtual, but there's through business ownership, owning stocks, owning a share of a
Or
business,
property's
owning
the best
physical
way.
assets like houses or physical gold bullion. Things like that are going to how you protect wealth. This is why those that are smart back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were buying as much of these resources as they could. They protected themselves from inflation. So that's really where, if you want to build wealth or at least preserve wealth, that's the bare minimum. If you want to grow wealth, if you want to become truly not necessarily wealthy but rich, you've got to be able to build a business or get lucky buying a business that's going to just crush it. Tesla, Amazon, Google, companies like that, if you can buy them cheap early on and then you just explode in value, dude, you're set for life.
So this means a female should be grateful to have a male that provides everything, and that she no longer needs to work anymore. Because how you're presenting it, it's like, yo, it's an anomaly for a dude to be able to take care of his household without even her working. I mean,
That's the ideal, in my opinion. I mean, I could do that right now if I wanted to. I joke. I mean, half serious. I kind of joke about it. It's like I could have 2 or 3 wives, because I mean, it'd be great for the women too, because many hands make light work. So, but getting back
yeah,
to it's women were sold a lie. They got into the workforce in the 70s and 80s, And it's great for them because they became independent. They didn't have to stay with guys that they weren't really that interested in dating or being married to. I mean, it's good for them, I guess, in that sense. But are they really happier working for a boss that doesn't give two shits for them? This is the big lie. When women say they're independent, they don't need no man, bullshit. You need a man to pave the roads, to build the buildings, to keep the lights on, to provide your wage for your job. You are absolutely relying on men. Are you happier going down that route versus being taken care of and having all of your fiscal, financial, or all your fiscal, physical, and emotional needs met by a person? Because all we've done, all women have done, have traded a husband for Uncle Sam and a job. That's it. Are they happier? Well, the happiness surveys for the last 40 years show they're not. At some point, I think we're going to see a big swing, probably over the next 40 years, back towards something resembling traditionalism. Women are fed up, men are fed up, nobody's happy, it's not good for anybody, except for a very select few at the top. They're really the only ones that are making out like bandits.
Now, for this to happen, right? Uh for us to revert back into the old school ways, right? Do you think it would take anarchy to spark up in order for um for things to go back to normal as it was back in the day?
This isn't a hypothetical. It's already happening. You look at San Francisco, Portland, New York. Those that have the means they're getting the hell out. They're going to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Florida. They're going where the states are redder. Here's the irony. I thought they were going to make the states more purple as more blue people came into red states. That's not happening. This first vanguard of people leaving those states, those blue cities, they're actually conservatives making the states they're going to more red. I didn't know that. So we just saw that in Florida. We just saw it in Texas. They're bolstering the conservatives in those states. So you're bringing more traditional people to where things are traditional, not necessarily traditional, but more conservative. So you're kind of like doubling down in those states. The other areas are getting more democratic, progressive. So more far leftist. It's going to get more violent. There's going to be more homeless. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. It'll be interesting to see where those cities and states go over the next couple of decades. I think you'll see a reckoning. At some point, shit's going to hit the fan. It just has to. You can't, it kind of already is in a sense when you're just walking around San Francisco. It's not a good place to be right now.
Yeah. Now there's this place in California called Skid Row. Like the amount of homeless people they have out there is just.
Yep.
I can't even fathom that. I mean, and that's just. I mean, give me your perspective on that. Talk to me.
Well, it's progressive policies failing, and then they just keep doubling down. But the left is really good at messaging, and they control a lot of the media. So they're very good at getting people to vote against their best interests. That's just what it comes down to. We saw a lot of half-truths on both sides during the last election cycle. It's just the left and the right largely is just one gigantic establishment machine. We see this now. A good example of that was when Kamala Harris, after being nominated as VP, was walking through I believe it was the House of Representatives, fist bumping one of the GOP leaders. They were all buddy-buddy. They're all in it together. I think this is why they hated Trump so much. He's not an establishment goon who didn't do their bidding, so he had to go. So they said whatever they needed to say to galvanize people to be against him, whether it was true or not. That's just the way I see it. So on policy, I think he did a pretty good job. He actually followed through and made people follow through on the promises in a way that a lot of presidents did not. One key example is the Israeli, I just went blank on the word, the embassy, moving it to Jerusalem. They've been promising that for 35 years. He was the first one that did it. Left and right. They both paid lip service to it. They never did it. He did it. That means something. He tried to build the wall. Dems and Republicans hemmed him up, so that didn't happen his way. as intended. There was a lot of things like that. He also did a lot of dumb shit. So he's not a perfect guy by no means. I don't know if I'm going to support him at 24. It'd be interesting to see how that cycle shakes out with the primaries. Personally, I would like to see Trump and DeSantis run together. That would be a power ticket, because you're going to get a lot of family people that support DeSantis because they see what he's doing here in Florida, kicking ass and taking names. Sometimes it's just for show. It's not going to make any difference. This whole Disney county situation is one of those examples. As I understand it, the only guy that lives in that county is one of the Disney execs. So he's the only one that's going to be voting on any of the policies. So it's a non-issue, really. But anyways, getting back to the point, I would like to see those two run together, because if you get both of their supporters together, it's going to be a powerful base. We'll see what happens. As far as the Democrats go, there's some that I like, and they get drowned out in the sea of idiocy. Meet Kevin, the YouTuber. He ran against Newsom in the recall election. He would have done good. He had some really good policies. I like what he was talking about with future schools. We sadly need something. We sorely need something like that, because the state of education right now is sad. There are a higher percentage of pilots in the Air Force that are women than there are school teachers that are men. Think about that. On a percentage basis.
That's scary.
So you got your entire academic system is girls raising boys. They're raising them. That's where they're spending most of their day. And then they go home. A lot of them are to single mother households, especially in the urban Black community, where it's over 70% now. So where is their male role models? Where's their male leaders? How are they going to learn masculine qualities if nobody's there to give it to them? This is kind of why we all arose as a community. So many guys are missing out on these life lessons. This shouldn't be necessary. In a perfect world, the red pill wouldn't even need to exist. It wouldn't exist. There would already be balance. We don't have that right now. So here we are, trying to give guys the life lessons that we all learned 40 years ago, 30 years ago, naturally, just because that's the way the world was. The world changed, and in some cases, not for the better. So we're trying to help those that need help. So, yep. Also, look us up on YouTube at Redpill University. I am at Real Jody on Instagram. I also do event hosting, networking, things of that nature in the Tampa Bay area. If you want to come out for a pool party, beach party, if you want to host a private event, yeah, I'm doing the pitch. Yeah, hit me up and we can make it happen. So I've got photographers, videographers, DJs, all of that in my network that I can hook you guys up with.
Thank you so much for coming by, man. I appreciate you.
Got any more questions? I love this.
Oh man, that was my last question, man. Any final thoughts for the people, man? Talk to me, man.
So for the guys, protect yourselves. If you're going to get married, get it with an ironclad prenup and put your assets into a trust. That's the key. This way, if you ever end up getting tagged for child support or alimony, the only thing that is going to be tapped as a resource is your actual income. Ideally, the way the laws are right now, you don't even need to get married. There is no need for it at all, except for taxes. That's really the only feasible, logical benefit I can see right now. Prior to gay marriage getting legalized, there was a lot of run-up to give gay couples the same access to legal protections that we got as being a married couple. So you can leverage a lot of those in a lot of states. You can put each other on your insurance. You can get a power of attorney for cases where that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of tools out there in the legal system that you can use that makes getting married superfluous. Another one, protect yourself, wrap yourself. Always have a condom. If a woman says she's on birth control, I think it was one of Rollo's rules, you have to be in control of the birth control. That's your responsibility as a dude, especially if you're got some money behind you. Because look what they're doing with what we're seeing with athletes and rappers. How much does Kanye have to pay his billionaire ex-wife every month? $100,000? How much does this dude, that one ball player, have to pay Brittany Renner in child support every month? Was it 10 grand a month? 50 grand a month? It's something ridiculous. I remember seeing this one story in the NBA. Yeah, it was either the NBA or the NFL. They sent out an email to warn their players because women were actually getting used condoms out of the trash and inseminating themselves with it. It was such an issue, they had to send out a fucking email to their players. to be wary of that. So Tom Likas, God bless him, he had a really good, a funny thing. You put Tabasco in it, you throw it away. I say just toss it in the toilet and just flush the damn thing. So, oh, it's bad for the environment. It's bad for the plumbing. Well, it's not your plumbing. Fuck it. It's going to protect your ass. So look out for number one. That's all I'm saying.
Man, thanks a lot, man. Yo, this interview is officially over. It's your boy Russ. Seek wisdom, practice humility, and remain sucker free. You heard? I'm out. One.
That was a good interview. All right.